Hello, welcome to the Alone Show. I'm your host, John Alone. In this episode, don't have regulars because reasons, I guess. It's getting old, but whatever. As for our guest, she is from New York City, currently in Boston, and she is a best-selling author of The 5-Day Job Search. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Annie Margarita Yang.
Hey, Peter, I'm so excited to be on your show today. Thank you so much for inviting me to the Alone show. Before we get started, I just want to let your listeners know that if they stick around until the end of today's episode, they will learn how they can get a special offer, which is a 10% off coupon code on the 5-day job search. And not only that, it will be a signed paperback copy of the 5-day job search. So, hey guys, please stick until the very end.
I mean, yeah, I don't think you can refuse this kind of offer. So yeah, I just really suggest that. That'll be pretty cool. So, how's life?
I think life has been quite busy, but I don't complain. It's been quite wonderful. I'm actually on a podcast tour at the moment, booked on 60 podcasts to promote this new book, getting on between like 2 to 4 each day, and uh, so much more than 60 because my plan is to go on 500 over the next 12 months. So I would say busy, but wonderful.
Good grief, that's a lot of podcasts.
Yes.
That's crazy.
Well, my motto is you got to go big or go home whenever you're setting out to do something. So that's what
Well,
I'm
can't
doing.
argue with that. I go by that saying every day. And have you been up to much recently besides doing podcast appearances?
Well, I've been learning how to do marketing because this is my second book. And the first book, I haven't done any marketing for the first book, which is 1001 Ways to Save Money. Most of the sales came from my YouTube channel, where at the end of the video, I just tell people, hey guys, I don't take sponsorships on my channel because I want to stay as authentic as possible. So if you want to support me, just buy a copy of my book on Amazon and leave a review. But this second book, The 5-Day Job Search, I'm looking to actually sell millions of this. So I want this to go mainstream. So so I'm like trying to learn as much as possible on how that's done and just throwing every single possible idea out there and implementing it. It doesn't matter what the cost is, but just trying to figure it all out. So um that's what I've been up to lately.
All right, very good, very good. So, before you've got down to writing this book, what jobs or experience did you have up until now?
I've had several. So from I guess the time I graduated high school, just a whole string of minimum wage jobs, such as like giving massages, working as a cashier, slicing deli meats and cheeses, working at Domino's Pizza, collecting basketball tickets, things like that. But what really inspired the subject for this book and why it's called the 5-day job search is because after I graduated with a degree in communications, I ended up working at Domino's Pizza. So don't let your degree do the speaking for you because it's not the golden ticket it's supposed to be to land a great paying job. And after Domino's Pizza, I moved to Boston. I decided, you know what? I want to make my mark on this world. I don't care what people think, what they're going to say. I'm just going to go after everything I want. So I applied for accounting jobs without an accounting degree. And I applied to 50 jobs per day. Within a week, I got a job offer. And that was great. But then that manager was toxic, right? So 2 months later, I was on a job search again. I landed another accounting position in only 6 days. Then a year later, I wanted to buy a house. So I needed to make even more money. And I figured my boss wouldn't give me the raise that I want. So I decided it's time for another job search. Started looking, started applying to 50 a day. And then within 5 days, I got an accounting position without the accounting degree. So there must be something I'm doing right that other people don't know or aren't doing because far more people are more qualified than me. But why is it that I'm the one who gets the job?
Hmm, interesting. And I actually do want to know what is it in your book and the journey you've taken that has really got you to the position that you've gotten yourself into?
I would say I've really learned personal branding. So, one of the things that I talk about in the book is the importance of having a professional headshot. That's actually like one of the first things that I did after I landed the entry level accounting position I got was okay, now I'm making more money than when I was making minimum wage. How am I going to use this extra money that I now have, this disposable money? I decided to save up that money to get a professional headshot done. And I learned that the headshot isn't for the job you have now. So just because I was working in entry level accounting doesn't mean that the headshot should make it look like that's the kind of job I was working. The headshot should actually be for the job that you want. So the photographer, he asked me, what's your end goal here? Like, what do you want your next job to be? Or like really down the line. And I said, I want to look like a future CFO in the making. And he said, okay, that's what we're going to go after. And, not just that, not just getting the professional headshot done, but, like, you really have to put your best foot forward for that photo because 80% of looking amazing is from all the homework you do before you step into the studio. So this photographer, he told me, "Hey, Annie, this is everything you need to do. Like, 3 days before, get a good night's sleep because you can't hide eye bags with Photoshop," you know? Also, drink lots of water because you need to stay hydrated, especially your lips. You don't want chapped lips. You can't fix that with Photoshop. Another thing is book an appointment at your local hair salon. Get your hair done, get a haircut, get a blowout. So you come in looking amazing the same day. And then also use a makeup artist because a lot of people, they can do their makeup and it doesn't look right because makeup done in real life is very natural looking, but actually when it's done for the camera, it needs to look cakey because otherwise you will look so washed out and white due to the bright white studio light. So you need to use a professional makeup artist to come out looking your best. And this applies to men. Men also need to wear makeup for the photo.
Hmm, interesting. And do you think that it's important to have some sort of experience when you apply for a job as or more than with the degrees and education that you've gotten in the past?
I think the experience is far more important than the degree because, based on what I've seen and my personal journey, the employer has cared more about my past experiences and accomplishments more than where or what I studied in college. I The reason really why I got those jobs is because they were far more impressed by the fact that I wrote my first book, 1001 Ways to Save Money, than where I went to school or what I studied. When they saw that on my resume, it was like actually the line right before my education section. They were like, "Oh, you have a lot of discipline to write a book. That's amazing. We've never come across an author." So that is really what stood out to them. And then after I got my foot in the door, you would say, that's when I really got experience. And for the later jobs that I was applying for, I was able to put more of the related experience on my resume. But the really first thing that got my foot in the door was the book.
Nice. Great to hear. What should they teach in high school, but they don't?
I would say how to have a successful job search because the average job seeker, get this, takes 6 months to land a job. I I thought, everyone was landing jobs in less than a month. I thought that's how long the average job search took, but when I searched it up on Google, it turns out the average person takes 6 months, and I think that's way too long. It's a life skill that everyone needs, and what people don't understand is that landing a job is a job in itself. It's like a whole system, a whole set of individual soft skills that you need to learn. It's not like one specific skill. Like if I had to break down all of it, it would be like how to figure out what your accomplishments are on the resume. Not just like how to write a resume, but like how to figure out what your accomplishments even are to go on the resume. Then it's like how to craft the resume. Another subset of skill of the resume itself is like how to make your resume look physically, visually beautiful, right? And then there's a skill of like the headshot that I was talking about. You don't just show up to the studio, it's all the prep work. That's a skill in itself. Your LinkedIn banner, making that LinkedIn banner look nice, your LinkedIn headline, Don't just go with the default. Learning how to write your own bio for the summary section of LinkedIn. Putting in everything else into like LinkedIn sections, such as like your skills. You can have up to 50 skills, or even the fact that like you have to learn how to message people on LinkedIn that you've worked with in the past and ask them, can you write me a recommendation? Do you want something to copy and paste? Because I'd gladly give that to you. So everything, all of this is like, let's say landing a job, right? You can even break this down into like 30 different micro skills. I think this is something that they should teach in high school because it seems that a lot of people don't know how to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. It is very important. How much time do you spend on the internet?
How much time do I spend on the internet? I
Hmm.
guess more than 8 hours a day, but because it's related to my work, do you mean about like surfing the internet for fun or like for work related purposes?
Whatever purpose there is.
Yeah, I would say definitely more than 8 hours a day because I work maybe 9 to 10 hours a day most days. Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Hey, that's how life is these days, especially when you work remotely or
Yeah,
work in an office. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. What's your favorite season?
My favorite season would be all the seasons. I think there's not one because we need variety in life. So, right now we're just heading into fall in New England, and I think it's beautiful. We're gonna see fall foliage, and then after that, we'll have winter. We'll have lots of snow, and the differences in the seasons is what makes it nice.
Yeah, it's quite a scenery to witness.
Mhm.
If someone wrote a book about you, what do you think its title would be?
I would say it would be a funny title. It'd be Annie Margarita Yang Can't Cut Code Cuts because like if someone were to write a book about me and ask me for all of my past experiences, the one experience I would definitely most want in the book is the fact that I was rejected from a job cutting code cuts. So I had cut code cuts as a part-time job for 6 months at a grocery store, and I wanted to look for another job. And one day I was walking by a larger supermarket. It was a chain, and they had this sign on the door that said job opening, for deli slicer. And I walked in. It was for a full time position rather than part time that I was working. I walked in and they asked me, "What's your experience? How long have you been cutting cold cuts?" And I said, "6 months." And they said, "That's not nearly enough time to master the skill and the art of cutting code cuts. You need at least 1 year to get good at cutting code cuts." And I'm here like thinking, let me calculate right now how many hours. 40 hours, right? A week times 52. So he's saying that in order for me to get good at cutting code cuts, it will take 2,000 hours. I can't believe it. So I really want the title to be called Annie Yang Can't Cut Code Cuts.
Nice. If the internet suddenly stopped existing, what would you do with the time that you used to spend on the internet?
I would honestly be reading books a whole lot more. That's my favorite thing. Well, actually, that's one of the reasons why I'm on the internet so much is because I like to learn. And a lot of knowledge these days is on the internet for an affordable price. But if there was no internet, I would be most likely reading books all day along with practicing the piano.
Oh, nice,
Yeah.
nice. What hobby would you get into if time and money weren't an issue?
It would definitely be the piano. Currently, 2 years ago, I made a commitment. I'm going to learn piano because it's something that I wanted to do ever since I was a kid, but my parents, having no money, said no. So they weren't able to afford the lessons, let alone like an actual real acoustic piano. So I figured when I was 26, I started earning six figures and I was bored out of my mind. I'm like, how come I make all this money? I have everything I could want, but why is it that I'm not fulfilled? I was just like every day I think about money and work and business. There has to be something else that brings me joy. What could it be? I've tried so many different hobbies, and finally I figured, maybe there's something to it about our childhood. Like maybe when we're kids and we're entering into this world, we already know what we're passionate about, what our interests could be, because I don't think we actually come in here as a blank slate. And I looked back and I'm like, well, two things I really wanted when I was a kid was acting lessons and piano. Never got the piano. And so, yeah, I and people were telling me when I started taking up this hobby of mine, they were like, "Oh, you'll never become a professional. Good luck with that. Adults can't learn piano. It's too late for an adult to learn piano based on the science and like the neurological makeup of an adult's brain, blah blah blah, and the hand-eye coordination not being as good as when you're a kid." And I basically said, screw you guys. Because based on my experience, people don't actually put 100% effort into something. So I figure, okay, what if I actually practice 1 to 2 hours a day? What if I actually did all of the homework that my teacher gave me? What if I actually went all in and was disciplined about it? I recorded the fact of how many hours I actually practiced. So I'm not lying, I'm not making it up. The data will stare at me in the face and tell me you didn't practice enough today. That's why you're not getting better. So I'm, maybe 1,000 hours in, and I want to see like if I had unlimited time, unlimited money, after 10,000 hours, can I become a master at the piano? Can I become as good as like the real world masters these days? I want to see how far can I go.
Yeah, absolutely. You never know unless you try. What's your favorite kind of dessert?
Favorite kind of dessert, I would say, it would have to be chocolate cake. Unfortunately, I am allergic to chocolate, so I haven't been able to eat chocolate for the last 7 years.
Dang.
Yeah, but I dream about eating chocolate, so in my dream, I can taste the flavor of chocolate.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Would you rather speak all languages or talk to animals?
Hmm. Honestly, I think I would speak all languages. I think the human connection is very valuable, and the ability to communicate with other humans is is a blessing. If you can see, like, we're at war right now. Well, not my country, right? But there are wars happening right now, and I feel like the whole reason is just, like, for conflict to happen is there must be a breakdown in communication going on, I think.
Yes, absolutely. I think what's happening in this world, whether it's conflict or miscommunication or somewhat, everything is just a massive misunderstanding, and we're struggling to find a common ground where we actually agree on something.
That's right.
Yes, absolutely. Do you like spicy food?
No, I cannot tolerate even mildly spicy food. Can't understand why people go crazy for eating spicy food. Was never into it, never understood it. Can't handle it.
All right, fair enough. I mean, I like spicy food. I just like the tingliness of it, you know?
It makes me
I'm,
feel like I'm dying. I can't. No, that's the tingling sensation you're talking about.
yes, I understand. I understand that. If you could travel back in time, what decade would you want to live in?
No, I don't wanna travel back in time. I think we're living in the best decade we can. The present is the only thing that we have, and we should enjoy it. Every decade has its good times and bad times, just like what we have now, good times and bad times. So, really, what matters is how you react to what's going on. That makes up, like, 90% of your experience in this world, how you react to things.
Yeah, yeah, that's a yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are things that should just stay in the past because that's what makes it so unique and valuable. It's something you can't go back on. You could just remember it as a time that's such a vibe.
Yeah, I think today is completely like an anomaly. Like for the first time in this world, we have internet. We have the ability to travel quickly, for information to dispense quickly, for us to meet people online from other countries, like, I don't see why anyone would wanna go back, honestly. They think that something in the past was better, but we're living in such different times, like, wouldn't you want to experience that? That is something so different that previous generations haven't had to experience, with along with all of the different technology that we have, which is just so wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. Enjoy the moment. What is your favorite quote?
Favorite quote? I think I said it in the beginning of the show, it's "Go big or go home."
Oh,
A motto
yes.
I really live by, applying to 50 jobs a day, trying to, get this podcast tour, right? Not just settling for 8 to 12. Like, when I first started outreaching to podcasts, I was actually contacted by PR and publicists promising that they can get me on a whole bunch of shows. And I was like, "Hey, I want to get on 500. Can you help me get on 500? Like, what solutions do you have for me? I'm already booked on 19 and I only started like reaching out a week ago." And they were like, "Oh, okay, Annie, we definitely can't help you because the average client and what's considered a good success rate is if we can get a client on between 8 to 12 podcasts over the course of 6 months, that's excellent. And you've already booked 19 in just a week." So, yeah, really, I think maybe these people aren't going big. Go big or go home.
Fair enough, fair enough. You are breaking the boundaries here, and I want you to keep going.
I will
Go
keep going.
go above and beyond if you can.
Can't stop, won't stop.
Exactly. Is there an app that you hate using, but you still use it anyway?
No, I think if I hate using the apps, I just delete them. Why add the frustration to my life? I already have so many things stressing me out. There's no need for that kind of stress in my life.
Yeah, exactly. That's great logic. If you don't like it, just get rid of it.
Mhm.
And besides, there's better alternatives to use anyway. So yeah, just cut your losses and enjoy what you got.
Mhm. That's right.
Yes. If you could create your own job title, what would it be?
Hey, man, I already have the job title I want. I mean, like these whenever I go on shows and they're asking me what's my job title, I'm literally just putting best-selling author of the 5-day job search. When I was getting editorial in book publishing, you pay between $400 and $500 for objective, so-called objective editorial reviews. For people who are, like, professional readers of books, they write reviews, and apparently they're, like, the end all be all of, like, whether a book is good or not because it's their living to read so many books, and so they're experienced and so well read, they should know, right? And I think in at least 2 of these s reviews, they said, "Annie Margarita Yang is a self-proclaimed career coach," as in she called herself a career coach. Or like a self-proclaimed financial guru. It's like, is there anything wrong with being self-proclaimed? Like, you can literally make up any title you want, you know? It's not like somebody's just gonna walk up to you one day and award you by calling you a guru. Nobody calls you an expert. You have to call yourself an expert or a guru before somebody else does it.
Yeah, exactly. There's always going to be people that may not see the full picture, so you have to show it to them for yourself. So that
Personally.
way people get an understanding.
Yeah.
If you have to choose between skydiving, bungee jumping, or scuba diving, which one would you choose?
I would try the skydiving one. I think the scuba diving one is scary because I don't even know how to swim. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I actually prefer skydiving. It's a lot more thrilling, you know?
Have you done all 3 before?
No, I haven't got to one yet, so
Oh, okay.
I want to do that.
Alright.
What was the strangest dream you've ever had?
Oh my goodness. I think the strangest dream, man, all of them are strange because I get attacked in my dreams. Like, ever since I was a kid, somebody's following me, someone's trying to kill me, someone's trying to hurt me. I think not strange, but I can tell you the scariest one was the first time. in my dream I got gang raped. Like literally I in this dream I was waiting at a bus stop with my 10 childhood friends, and out of nowhere, like a whole group of young teenage boys just like drag us all away into some locked room, and then I'm gang raped. And then, like, upon escaping and leaving, I'm entering China. Like, for some reason, I'm in China, and then I'm trying to get help from the police. But because I'm Chinese American, but I don't really speak Chinese. I don't speak Chinese. I'm not able to get help. And people aren't understanding what I'm trying to say. And then finally I get a police officer to come follow me back to the room where I was to show him what happened. But upon entering the building, the interior of the building had changed. And I had no idea how to access the same room where I was. So I would say that's the scariest dream because that was like the first time that has happened. Like, I have gotten killed in dreams, I have been followed, but this one was the first getting raped. Yeah,
Wow.
probably not appropriate for this show. Yeah,
I mean, I've heard a lot worse things, to be honest. And
yeah.
those episodes are still up to this day, so you're good for
All
sure.
right, all right.
If you could host a talk show, who would you have on as your first guest?
Who would I have on as my first guest? I would ask you, Peter
I mean,
Clemenson, because you've been asking me so many questions, but I feel like I don't know much about you. Maybe, yeah. I want to ask you some questions as well.
okay, yeah, sure, go ahead.
Yeah, like, I don't really understand what do you do for a living? Why did you start the Alone show? What is it really? Why?
So, what my podcast is, it's just a talk show. I bring people on from multiple professions. I talk to them what they do for a living, how they got to where they are right now, and then just go with the flow, asking them other randomized questions that tell a little more about themselves beyond their profession. So yeah,
Ah.
it's definitely a talk show on a podcast form. And the reason I started the podcast, there was this social media content creation group called Team Sketch. One of the leader, Risk 11, he's somewhere in the outskirts of Glasgow, Scotland. He came up to me one day, and there was already a podcast called the Team Sketch Podcast, but no longer exists because something happened. It's unfortunate. But
Mhm.
anyway, during the time the Team Sketch podcast was in its infancy, Risk 11 came up to me saying, "You're doing so great. You were brilliant conversation wise. Do you want to start your own podcast?" I was like, "Yeah, yeah, sure. I would like to have record some episodes of my own and have people on." And then roughly around 20 December 2021 to January 2022, uh, started like looking for people to join. January 5th, my birthday, by the way,
Mm.
of 2022 was the first episode of this podcast. And to this day, it's the most listened episode of all time. And I've been reaching out to more people, looking at more ways to get more
You mean your
guests.
first one? Your first episode was the most listened to of all?
Yes,
Mm.
exactly, of all time. No other episode has ever surpassed it since.
Mm.
Until maybe in the next few years, when the podcast gets slightly more bigger, then yeah, it's possible it could be overtaken. But for now,
But
it's good.
why?
It's good as it
Why
is.
do you think that is? I mean, January 2022, that was a whole 22 months ago. Why is it that the first episode has the most listens?
Hmm.
Have you ever thought about that?
No, I haven't thought about it, but I have. But I do realize I do recall it very well about the discussions we had and how we went over the wall a bit at times. But it's in a more comedic kind of way. And of course, I think after the first episode was actually one of the regulars that usually comes on here and talks and asks the other guests questions. And then over time, I've managed to progress towards more guest oriented episodes with occasional regulars. And the format is, which is right now, is what I've used for over like a year now.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think with my first episode, it was just like it was in its infancy, and there were some things I believe that were it really stood out. And of course, I think there's another podcast as part of the umbrella that my podcast is under. They even in the first few episodes, there were way more listeners than more recent episodes. So I think it's just a very common algorithm wise that how
Oh,
what
like maybe recommending new podcasts. Like probably there's a category for new podcasts up and
yeah,
coming that you might want to check out, maybe.
exactly.
Mm.
So yeah, been doing it for like a year and a couple months now, and here we are today.
Well, that's good. Keep it up because a lot of podcasts apparently they quit after 12 episodes.
Wow,
Yeah.
I never thought I'd get this far, but yay! And that is all we have for this episode. It was great having you on, Annie, talking about your amazing book, The 5 Day Job Search, and how you present yourself in a social dynamic, kind of, and everything else. It's been great.
Thank you so much, Peter. I just wanted to let your listeners know before we end the coupon code to get a 10% off discount on a signed paperback copy of the 5 Day Job Search. If they can go on AnnieYangFinancial.com and add the 5 Day Job Search book to their shopping cart upon checkout, they can use the coupon code ALONE, but it is spelled ALOONE.
Yeah,
Yep, that's right. Thank you guys for listening until the very end. I really appreciate it and love it when people do that.
yes. And until next time, stay tuned for more.